Greetings, programs. Today I decided to give you guys a ranking of the Tron movies. This is a series of films with three entries that began in 1982 and have had sporadic releases every couple of decades or so. Despite being such a technically long running series, it only has three entries, and essentially it's about a living world inside of a computer known as the grid, and also characters and programs that live within the grid, one of which being the titular Tron. And it's just an entertaining sci fi series that shows this virtual world, and even elements such as characters from this virtual world coming into our own, and human beings going into the grid themselves. It's one of the most unique franchises out there, but it's had some pretty rough reception over the years, never being a big financial hit and being pretty mixed among audiences and critics. But it's a series that I enjoy, and so without further ado, I'm going to give you guys my ranking from worst to best. Starting with Tron Ares. Released just last year, Tron Ares shows this program known as Ares, who attempts to go rogue after experiences with the human world, as well as our protagonist leads to him wanting to be a living human himself. This is a soft sequel to Tron Legacy, and while it does have aspects from that movie, it's pretty much a standalone sequel. I very much enjoyed this one, and a lot of people gave this one a lot of shit and said it was just terrible, and so I went into this one with pretty low expectations, but honestly, I very much enjoyed it. While this film does rank last on my list, I could see it possibly moving up to second place, but at the moment I have to put it below the other two, but not by a long shot. I do like how this film does continue the ideas of Tron Legacy, such as characters from the grid coming to the real world, which is what Clue was trying to do at the end of Tron Legacy, and Sam succeeded by bringing Cora into the real world with him. The biggest downside to this movie is it completely ignores pretty much all the characters that we've known throughout this franchise, especially ones from Legacy. Sam, who ran the company in 2 after the events of Tron Legacy, has just gone off somewhere with Cora, and you don't see either one of them in the movie. It's implied toward the end that Cora is probably sick, because there's a picture of her where she looks pretty sickly and losing her hair. So I guess maybe they're attempting to hide that in with a fourth film, but given that this film didn't do well at the box office at all, I doubt we're ever going to see a conclusion to that story outside of like a comic book or something. But I do enjoy this one. I think Ares is played pretty damn well by Jared Leto. And say what you want about the man in real life, because he does have some scandals and stuff like that, but I think he was pretty good in this film. My favorite scene in the film is probably when Ares meets up with a ghost of Kevin Flynn, so to speak, inside the computer. It's great because it actually is retro and it shows the grid from the first movie where this memory of Kevin is living. From the way they describe it, it seems Flynn is gone, but his essence remains in the old grid, more or less kind of like a backup of his memory and emotions, but in a digital form. So even though Kevin's not actually in the movie, we do get to see a program that acts just like him and has his personality, and it's basically our goodbye to the character. Jeff Bridges is only in his 70s, and I could see him living for a long time more, but he's probably never going to be in another Tron movie. And it's kind of like a nice goodbye to the character. And it's an emotional scene with a great soundtrack. And I really do love the nostalgia of it, but also is a nice goodbye to the character of Kevin Flynn. I don't really care for Eve Kim much. She's been a protagonist this time around and has taken over Incom after Sam left. And as a character, she is fine. There's no real problem with her. It's just I wanted to see the continuation of Sam's story. Maybe he could have his own kid that he had with Cora. It was part human and part program. Could be an interesting plot point, but no, there's nothing like that here. A fun movie with a great soundtrack by Nine Inch Nails, some great action, but a bad continuation of Tron Legacy. I still very much enjoy the film and was impressed by it for the most part, even though it does have some plot conveniences and a few wonky elements. I think it's still a fun film, and the action is top notch. Jared Leto's good in the movie, and despite not being a great sequel to Tron Legacy, it's still a good entry into the franchise. Up next is the 1982 original, Tron. The only real problem that I have with this film is that the human characters take a back seat, and it's pretty much all about the grid. Now, I get it, the grid is the selling point of this movie, and despite the movie being called Tron, he's just a program written by one of the characters in the film. What's interesting about the movie, it's basically just about Jeff Bridges' character, Kevin Flynn, trying to recover the legal rights to a video game that he created that Incom, a company that he used to work for, has stolen from him. And that's basically just the plot of the movie. A guy tries to hack into a computer system to prove that he created something that was stolen from him, and along the way gets sucked into a computer by this laser and goes on this crazy adventure inside of the computer. It's a simple story, but there's something about it that I actually rather enjoy. It has like a charm to it. The special effects by 1982 standards, they were very cutting edge. And while they're no means great, they do have, like I said, a charm to them, and it's great seeing them on the screen, and they do translate pretty well despite looking a bit hokey and very old school. The only downside is I think the movie has really kind of wonky pacing. There are programs throughout the film which are basically these AIs that live within the world of Tron, and whenever someone creates a program, it inadvertently ends up looking like them. This was just a fun little thing that they did, but what's interesting now, you actually can have avatars and characters in video games that can look like you. So the film was kind of ahead of its time in that way. The villain of the movie is this character named Dillinger, and his program that he uses is called Sark. And the funny thing is, Sark is played by the same actor and looks just like him. Kevin Flynn has a program named Clue, who also looks like him. And there's a character named Alan who created the Tron program, which is a defense program that he lets Kevin use to try and help him hack into the system. And the Tron program looks just like the actor, because he's played by the same actor, obviously. It's the only film to actually heavily feature the character Tron, who's barely in Legacy and isn't even mentioned, I don't think, in the third film. But apart from there not being enough human elements, like there's literally scenes in the film where you see Tron talking to his creator, Alan, but you don't actually see Alan on the other side. I think the film would have worked a lot better and had better pacing had we actually seen what the humans were doing while Jeff Bridges' character was inside the computer. But instead, we just assume that they're on a computer also, just not sucked into it like Kevin, and they're just trying to hack into Incom's files. A fun movie about a guy trying to prove that he made a game and inadvertently gets sucked into a computer world. Nothing more than that, but the simplicity and novelty of that idea makes for a fun movie. And you gotta love the light cycles. But coming in at number one would have to be 2010's Tron Legacy. This is a film that I actually saw back when I was still in high school, and I'm kind of nostalgic for this one. The story picks up 7 years after the events of the first Tron movie, and we see that Kevin Flynn has a son named Sam. Although going by the kid's age, he would have had to have already been born before the events of the first Tron movie, but I digress. What happens is, in the year 1989, Kevin gets sucked into the computer, but unfortunately, due to his program going rogue, he gets stuck there. His son accidentally gets sucked into the computer as well about 20 years later and finds his dad on the grid. Unfortunately, his doppelganger, Clue, not to be confused with the Clue from the first film, but a secondary version of Clue, has gone rogue. And we see that Clue 2.0 has basically taken over the grid and rules it like a dictator, with Kevin Flynn living on the outskirts with a program he created named Cora. It's up to Sam to try to rescue his father, while also battling programs in the grid, and this ultimately leads to a final confrontation with Sam, Clue 2.0, and Rensler, who is a corrupted version of Tron. It's just a really awesome film that takes the basic idea of the first Tron movie, really spoofs up the effects, and you get a film that is highly entertaining with a damn good story that has way more emotional beats than the first film. While I really do much enjoy the first Tron, the characters are a bit light, and it's more like pretty much just about the effects for the most part. Whereas in the second film, the effects are magnificent, and the characters have a lot more depth. Daft Punk did the soundtrack for this film, and it is the best of the three movies. I do enjoy the Nine Inch Nails soundtrack of Ares, but it's really hard to top this Daft Punk soundtrack. Just magnificent and pumping music that really gets you into the film. While I do think Tron Ares probably has the best action of the three movies, this one has the best adventure. I think the characters are magnificent. I think the story is great. I really enjoy the character of Cora. I think Clue is a great villain, the best of the franchise. And Jeff Bridges does a really great job once again as Kevin Flynn. It is the best of the Tron films, the most financially successful of the series, and every bit deserving of that. I really do love Tron Legacy, and I think it's one that anyone should watch that loves good entertainment, good sci-fi action, or a good father-son bonding kind of story. It's got it all, and it's just a magnificent film. Well, that's my list. This is a series that has always been kind of underrated. The first two were only modest successes at the box office, not really breaking any kind of records, and just barely eking out a profit. And the third film was an outright flop. But despite the series never gaining mainstream popularity, it does have a rabid fan base, and I very much enjoy it. I didn't grow up with these movies. I'd pretty much only seen the second one for years until I finally saw the first one when I was in my 20s. And now that I'm in my 30s, I've seen the third film, and I enjoyed very much as well. So let me know down below what your favorite Tron film is, or just who your favorite character from these films is. And peace out.